Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. It's week 22, episode 22 of the diary or in the life of a trainee PWP, a trainee psychological wellbeing practitioner. Now, in this week, what's been going on this week? So we're back to lectures. It was an interesting one. This week we had two particular lectures, which are two major areas that come across. They come along with a lot of the anxiety and depression cases that we see, and they are stress and sleep, or sleep problems. So we dealt with stress management and sleep management, two important areas that come along mental health problems, sometimes on their own, and at many times they come along with different mental health problems such as anxiety, such as depression or low mood, and dealing with different challenges. And these things pile up, and they pile up. A person starts to experience a lot of stress, whatever it may be, due to work, due to studies, due to life challenges, due to so many different issues, interpersonal issues, marital issues, familial, domestic issues, whatever they may be, environmental, and there are so many other things. We've seen how people have become so stressed throughout, over the course of the last couple of years. And also, one thing that has become also a epidemic even before the pandemic, even before the COVID-19 outbreak, has been the rise and increase of sleep problems. Insomnia, the difficulty sleeping. Hypersomnia is the difficulty waking up, or sometimes sleeping too much, and also there's that feeling of not wanting to get up. And also sleep disturbance, so getting up frequently at night, whatever the case may be, due to thoughts and many other reasons. It's quite interesting. So what we were taught is that we don't treat them as a standalone necessarily. Usually we treat them along with the other interventions. What are the interventions that we treat? Mainly, there are three. We have behavioral activation for low mood and depression, and we have worry management for excessive worry, or people who are experiencing or suffering from symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder. We don't necessarily want to label people, but these are the symptoms that they're experiencing and some type of provisional diagnosis that we can give, or we tend to call it excessive worry. So there's worry management. How do we manage our worries? Then there's something called graded exposure therapy. This is mainly for people who are experiencing panic attacks or panic disorder and fears and phobia, or different specific phobias. So graded exposure is kind of climbing up the ladder from exposing oneself to kind of the easiest stuff, building up to the most difficult stuff, in order to build confidence and to work on a person's self-esteem, and to bring about resiliency and the ability to face our fears. Now, they come along, stress and sleep problems, and we tend to treat them along with these different interventions. Now, with regards to, because there's not much studies when it comes to stress management in terms of on its own, except that you find that with stress management there are numerous stress management techniques and stress management sort of like techniques and strategies and tips, and it's important that we apply to our time. There's the general ones you might find that have been spoken about since the 50s until today, but it's important that we try to bring along what can we relate to our time. With regards to sleep management, on the other hand, since 2000 up until now, there's been a lot of research, and the research is still ongoing, but what has been found is that CBT for insomnia, known as CBTI, has been shown to be highly effective. Even in North America, they've quoted and they've literally mentioned that CBTI, especially the research and what has been found here in the UK, and in particular the IAPT program, the Improved Access to Psychological Therapies, people such as ourselves, PWP, is working on it. I remember in one paper they praise it a lot because they see around the world now can see that CBTI has shown to be not only highly effective, but it is a better alternative compared to medication. Now, what is highly recommended is that the treatment is, in order to maximize and optimize treatment, it is combined medication or sleeping pills along with CBTI in order for people to improve and maximize their treatment for better sleep. Because there's a statement in Arabic I usually used to tell in my previous role to many clients, and that is إذا صلحت نومك صلحت يومك, which basically means better sleep, better days. If we can fix our sleep, if you can fix your sleep, your days will become better. So better sleep equals to better days, because without good sleep, it's going to affect your mood, it's going to affect your behavior, it's going to affect your cognition, meaning your attention is you're going to struggle with attention, struggle with concentration, struggle with judgment, struggle with critical thinking. You're going to struggle with your ability to make certain decisions and judgment. So a lot of things, and mood, emotions, how you physically feel, the way you will function throughout your day is just going to be messed up. So that was Monday. That was quite interesting. Loads to learn. Now, with Tuesday, it was quite an interesting day. Had some, somewhat some challenging cases, but we managed to deal with it. What was interesting actually in Triage was I had my first case in the Arabic language. So there's a group of us, a number of us who work together, and this is something that has been sort of encouraged and emphasized in many services around the NHS, and specifically in the work that we do, that is people who can speak more than one language. So now we're doing calls mainly in the English language. I get to do calls sometimes in the Arabic language. Mind you, it can take a bit longer because sometimes you got to translate a lot of terminologies. Even others who speak other languages, other of my colleagues, they also share this concern and this difficulty and challenge that sometimes terminologies take time in English to translate, and you dealing with sort of like culture differences, religious differences, trying to normalize certain things such as safety, risk, in terms of harming self, and so on and so forth. But that was interesting. What I was looking forward most to was seeing my aunt, who came down from Oman, and this is my dad's sister, and I haven't seen her since February. So literally I saw her the week before I traveled, and it was amazing. We met up somewhere in Canary Wharf, and we said we'll have, sort of like, I don't know, late lunch or early dinner, whatever you want to call it. It was good seeing her. Yeah, the food was pretty off, I'll be honest. We went to Nando's, but I don't know why. I was just a bit off with Nando's. Nando's usually tend to cook good food, but there, I don't know, there was some issues, but you know what? Alhamdulillah, thank God. The most important thing was I got to see her, meet up with her, and that was a blast. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are getting now busy because my caseload is starting to pile up a bit. So it's interesting. Wednesday it wasn't just a caseload on Wednesday, because I had someone in the morning, a client in the morning, client in the afternoon. So client in the morning. Now I finally got my own panic client. So someone who's experiencing panic, and now I'm going to use for the first time. It's my first client. They're going to be using the graded exposure therapy. Then later on, I had my client who's experiencing low mood and depression, and we started our first session with BA, behavioral activation. It was quite long, mainly because I had my supervision, then I had my first line management meeting. So what tends to happen is that your supervisor is also your line manager. So you have your supervision, which is weekly. Then the line management meeting is kind of more like it's kind of like the work that you do. It's separate from your clinical work. It's more kind of like line management and admin work, and not necessarily just admin, but like the work that you're doing. So kind of like what's going on, it's just a friendly conversation of what's going on, following up things, and I've noticed that well-being is looked into a lot. So they touch a lot upon how are you doing with your well-being. Are you all right? Are things going okay? Are things going overboard? And it was a nice meeting, but it just felt long. It felt just long, such a long day. Thursday, things are piling up, but looking good. And that was quite interesting. It was an interesting. I had. It's good to see some clients really learning and benefiting from their workbooks, from the treatment, from the sessions, giving them an insight and helping them improve and recover. As a matter of fact, on Thursday, I ended this is my second client ending treatment with another client. Second time I'm ending so far I've ended 2 treatments. Yeah, fortunately, and they have improved compared to the first time I saw them. Up until now, they've improved. So I had an ending session with someone. Behavioral activation, she was experiencing kind of both anxiety and low mood, but it was more on the low mood, so she was more disengaged with her activities, and bringing her back, and some of her relationships have started to improve, and I'm really, really happy that there was a lot learned. There's a plan on how to prevent relapse, and if anything were to happen again, if she starts to feel low, she knows now what to do, who to contact, and what to do, the strategies. We looked at different strategies of how to prevent a relapse. It was an amazing session, and it was a lot learning, a good chance for me to learn what she has learned, and I've also learned from her, to be honest. And I'm very, very happy to see the progress that she's made. I'm very proud, and I hope the rest continues. There are challenging times, but the most important thing is recovery and improvement. Finally, on Friday, again, it was somewhat a busy day, and it was interesting. I had a bit of a conversation, to be honest, with one of my housemates over here, because I was working remotely, and it was good. It was good because in my previous it was like after Friday prayers, and I was taking a break before my next session, and I had to do a lot of admin calls as well. But it was interesting because he was talking to me about, he has this interview coming up, and I was telling him that I used to coach people for interviews, which I still do now and then. And this was in my it's like a side thing, a side hustle that I used to do, and I still do somewhat till today. But I've coached a number of people for their jobs, and literally I've done the same for people who are applying for this particular role in PWP. And fortunately, I've heard literally this week, I've had 3 to 4 days of hearing good news of people. 1 gotten into an interview, and 3 got places. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, 2 got accepted to 2 places, if I'm not mistaken. I know 1 person who got 2 places, and 2 other people got accepted. So their people are getting places, and with after coaching them for their interviews, helping them in their application, I'm really, really happy to say this. And hopefully I'm planning to do a course very soon for people on how to apply for the course for the PWP if you're interested, and also with that on preparing for the interview. So it's exciting. And I was also glad to see that from my clients, they're learning and they're growing. What was interesting was one of my anxiety clients, we were doing worry management. We touched upon, in the second session, about a technique known as worry time. So the first thing she told me is that she's learned now to understand and slowly classify her worries. So to take a step back, is this worry that I have, is it practical, where there's a practical solution at that given moment, or is it hypothetical, where there's no practical solution, there's no solution at that given moment? It's more of a hypothetical worry that she's worrying about. So that classification tend to help. Now, how do we deal with the hypothetical? Because with the practical, it's all about, there's a solution, you can come up with it. But with hypothetical, so what do we do exactly? So here we touched upon a technique known as worry time. Now, worry time, a lot of people can get a bit confused. Like, what is worry time? I remember one client, literally like a couple of weeks ago, a client actually mentioned to me, like, doesn't worry time make your anxiety even worse? Doesn't it increase your worry? What worry time basically does, it gives you this sense of control. You allocate a specific time in a given day. So every day, because what tends to happen is people who have excessive worry either all day or most of the day. Here, what worry time says is you allocate it. You literally allocate it. You give it a slot in your day. You choose when, and you choose the duration, i.e. how long do you want to spend time worrying. And what you do is you allocate that time, preferably not a time close to bedtime, because we don't want to encourage people to do that, because we don't want people to end up having sleep difficulties because they're just thinking and literally spiraling up before they sleep, which is going to make the sleep a lot more difficult. But what we want them to do is to allocate it at a specific time, and at that time, whether it be, let's say, half an hour, just worry. And when you're worrying, write down your worries. All right, here's a question. What happens when I get my worries just pop up around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, or they pop up at 11 a.m. in the morning, and I'm at work, or I'm here, or I'm there, and I'm out and about, or it pops up around 4 o'clock just before I finish work? And the technique here is called present moment focus. Let me repeat, present moment focus. What's present moment focus? Present moment focus is similar to mindfulness, where you are mindful. It's bringing your focus to the present moment, i.e. if you were doing something, say before that you were at work and you were doing a particular task, it's literally telling yourself, okay, this is the thought that I'm having. I'm going to worry about this during my worry time, and I'm going to reshift my focus to the task or whatever it is that I was doing. If you were driving, focus on your driving. Maybe you're listening to something, to shifting that focus. Now, it's easier said than done, I know that. That's why it takes a lot of effort, and it takes time to build this habit of reshifting our focus to that which we were doing. What if I wasn't doing anything and all of a sudden it just popped out? What if I was just, sitting down and just, I don't know, pondering, and all of a sudden this thought appeared? Well, think of something that you can do to reshift or distract yourself from that, and just tell yourself, listen, it's basically saying no, telling your thoughts, listen, no, you're coming to my head. I recognize that you've came, but I'm not going to think about you now. I'm going to worry about you later. I have a slot for you, and that's when I'm going to think and worry about you. I know this might sound weird, but the idea and the goal and objective is literally to build that sense of control and to say that I'm in control. I'm not going to allow my worries to ruin my day and control my mind, but rather I will allocate a slot for them, and when they appear outside that time, present moment focus, reshift your focus. Classify. Practical, I go sort it out. Hypothetical, worry time. Reshift your focus to that which you're doing. One thing that may help is that you can have a list of things to do, that if you can put down a list of things. So if a thought comes and I'm not doing something, what could I do to distract myself from these thoughts? I hope this has been beneficial. And it's a learning for us as trainees, and it's a lot of learning with clients. We're learning together. It's collaborative, and it's all about learning and growing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Stay tuned to the next week's video.